All right, welcome back. Unit 1, Lesson 7, Lesson 8. We will start with Lesson 7. Lesson 7 is on page 19, so in your black notebook, if you would please draw a line, and below that line write Unit 1, Lesson 7, Constant Speed, page 19. All right, so on page 19, we are looking at problem number 1, constant speed situations. The problem reads, Dan ran in the sixth grade track meet, time and distance in seconds and yards. If he ran, how far did he run in 1 second? If he ran 15 yards in 3 seconds is what you're trying to figure out. So you're trying to figure out the constant speed, the unit rate if you want to look at it that way. Number 2 says Julia rode her bike in the bike festival. Again, time, distance, hours, and miles now. We're trying to figure out in 1 hour how many miles did she ride if in 4 hours, 44 miles. So if you look at the one that we do know, which is 3 seconds, 15 yards, what could we do to figure out what is the unit rate in 1 second? 3 seconds, 15 yards. If you divided 15 by 3, you would end up with 5 in 1 second. So your first answer, 1 second, 5 yards. Now, knowing that, if you had 9 seconds, 9 times 5 would be 45. If you had 10 seconds, or 10 yards, divided by 5 yards, that would be 2 seconds. And if you had 50 seconds times the 5, which would be 50, which would be 250, not 50. All right, then over on the right, you have Julia rode her bike in the bike festival. 1 hour, how many miles? 4:44. So if you divide 4 into 44, you end up with 11. So in 1 hour, 11 miles. In 2 hours, 22 miles. In 4:44, so in 33 divided by 11 is 3. All right, so A and B, the unit rate, and then it says what are the sides of the unit rate triangle for the graph. Same thing with 2A and B, unit rate, what are the sides of the unit rate triangle for the graph. So that's what we're going to work on now. So you have 1 and 2 completed, and now you're doing 1A, 1B. So unit rate would be 5 yards per second. So 5 yards per second. What are the sides of the unit rate triangle for the graph? Well, it's constant. It's 1 to 5. So 1 and 5. Unit rate here, remember it's 11 miles per hour. So 11 miles per hour down to 1 unit rate. So it would be 1 to 11. All right, so all filled out. You should have 1 AB and 2 AB completed. And now if we were to graph 1A and B and 2A and B, what would that look like? So let's take a look on graph paper. What would that look like? So you would have to create a table, and for problem number 1, you would have time in seconds, x-axis, y-axis, 0 5 seconds, 0, 5 yards, 10 yards, 15, 20, and so on. So in 1 second, 5 yards. So you would place your dot at 5, in 2 seconds, 10, in 3 seconds, 15, in 4 seconds, so on. And then to make the unit rate known, the constant unit rate, we're on the triangle here, you would have 1, and then you draw up to the 5, then you go over to the 2, draw up to the 10, over to the 3, draw up to 15, and so on. For problem number 2, let me move this over here. Same thing, but now you're dealing with hours. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the x-axis, time in hours. Then you have distance in miles, 0, 5, 10, 15, and so on. And then in between 0 and 5, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in 1 second, excuse me, in 1 hour, 11 miles. So you place your dot there. And 2 would be, pull it down here, the 22. So you weigh up your letter 20, 21, 22. And then you would draw in your triangle, over 1, up 11, over 1, up 11. All right, turn to page 20. And we have a puzzled penguin problem. And it says, Dear math students, my name is Gavin. My friend Gavin, excuse me, also ran in the 6th grade track meet. His unit rate was 4 yards per second. I made this table of Gavin's time and distance. Gavin says that my table is not correct. Can you help me? So here's his table. He has time and distance, seconds and yards. And it said that he ran at 4 yards per second. Now he has 1 yard, 4 seconds. 2 yards, 8 seconds. 3 yards, 12 seconds. But Gavin claims that the table is not correct. What would you write back to the puzzled penguin? Hopefully you notice right here, I'll highlight it, it's saying in 4 seconds, 1 yard, but really over here it's 4 yards per second. So it should be 4 yards per second, so they really have their information backwards. So hopefully in your write-up for number 3, where it says write a response to the puzzle penguin, hopefully you would write about that he has the yards and seconds mixed around. So your write-up should look like something like this. The numbers in the column should be switched. The unit rate says that Gavin ran 4 yards per second, not 1 yard in 4 seconds. So write that down for number 3. And we'll move on. Number 4 on page 20 wants you to actually complete the correct table. So basically you're having now to switch each side around. So go ahead and draw a table with 2 columns and complete the table correctly. So your table should look like this. Time, distance, seconds, and yards. 1 second, Gavin was able to 4 yards, 2, 8, 3, 12, 4, 16, 8, 32, and 9, 36. So complete that table, and we will move on. On page 21, looking at problem number 5, it says review the rate situations. Use the graph to fill in the rows of the rate table. Circle the unit rate in the table. Draw the unit rate triangle in the graph. So over on the right, we have our table and our graph. It's been started. We just have to finish it. It says that in time in seconds and distance in yards, 3, 1, 5, 16. So if you look over here, in 1 second, 4 yards. Between 0 and 5, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And between 0 and 5 yards, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1 to 4. So in your table, you should be putting 1 to 4. Now, if you recall, it says draw the unit rate. I'm sorry, it says circle the unit rate in the table. So this would be your unit rate in 1 second, 4 yards. Okay? So there's your triangle. And now you would do it 1 to 4. So 3 times 4 would be 12. 8 divided by 4 would be 2. 5 times 4 would be 20. And 16 divided by 4 would be 4. So now you would just complete. This would be 1, and this would be 4. And you'd go over, oops, and down. So go ahead and make the table, make the graph. All said and done, things should look like this. You can see that they circled the unit rate and they started a triangle, the unit rate for the first one. All right, let's take a look at 6 and 7. Ron earns $5 per hour for raking leaves. How much will he earn in 6 hours? So we have $5 per hour, but if he works 6 hours, you'd have to do what? Your unit rate would be $5 per hour. 6 hours, you take 6 times 5, and you would end up with, you'd end up with, let's start that again. 6 times 5, you'd end up with $30. Number 7, Mr. Martin drives a constant rate of 50 miles per hour for 3 hours. How far does he drive? So it's 50 miles per hour. 3 hours, you would take the 50 times the 3, which would give you 150 miles. So there's your 30, there's your 150. And let's skip over 8, 9, and 10. Your homework in school will look like this for Thursday. The remembering page will look like this, more puzzles and equations and answers. And now let's take a look at Unit 1, Lesson 8. On Unit 1, Lesson 8, page 23, draw a line in your black notebook and write down Unit 1, Lesson 8, ratio as linked rates, page 23, and let's take a look at what they're doing here. Ratio tables as linked rate tables. Noreen saves $3 a day and Tim saves $5 a day. They start saving on the same day. The linked rate table and the ratio table show Noreen's and Tim's savings. So one of them is earning $3 a day, while the other one is earning $5 a day. So in one day, Noreen would have $3 and Tim would have $5. In 2 days, Noreen would have 6. Tim would have 10. 2 times 3, 2 times 5. All the way up to the 7th day, now Noreen has $21 and Tim has $35. Okay? Over here on the ratio table, you can see that 3 and 5, 3, 3, 5, 5, going up by 3 each day. 3 plus 3 is 6. Going up by 5 each day. 5 plus 5 is 10. So to complete that, you would add the 5. Oops, that didn't work. Let's try it again. The 5 here, the 3 there, and so on. Hopefully that makes sense. But I want you to answer the question down below, which is, how are the tables alike and how are they different? How are the tables alike and how are they different? So looking at both tables, a linked rate table and a ratio table. So all completed. The ratio table would look like that. They actually had 8 down here, which I didn't include, but the same 21 plus 3, 35 plus 5, 21 plus 3, 35 plus 5. So, question number 1, how are the tables alike? How are they different? Well, they both show the constant increase of 3 for Noreen and 5 for Tim. They both have 3 seconds and the 5 seconds column from the multiplication table. Okay? The left table shows the days column as the unit column. So here they have the days column as the unit column. Okay, so go ahead and write that down, or write down something very similar to that. All right, number 2, what are the numbers circled at the top of each table? So going back to the table, what are these numbers? Fill in the numbers to the left and the right of the ratio table to show Noreen's and Tim's constant increase. And I showed you that. You don't have to do that. So, number 2, what you're looking at, the 3 and the 5, are the unit rates. All right, now, Noreen has saved $12. Tim has saved $35. So number 4 and number 5, how much has Tim saved? How much has Noreen saved? So if Noreen is at the $12 mark, Tim would be at the $20 mark. If you look at the table, if Noreen is 12, Tim is 20, right here. Okay? And then number 5, Tim has 35, so he's at the $35 mark. How much has Noreen saved? $21. So number 4, you should have $20. Number 5, you should have 21. And then it says, on which day was this? On which day was this? So if we go back to the table, day 4, day 7. If you look, day 4 and day 7. Okay? By definition, a rate table is a 2-column table showing the numbers of units in the first column and the value associated with each given number of units in the second column. When the units are listed as counting numbers in consecutive order, the values in the second column will show a constant difference. This constant difference is the unit rate. Example, the rate table below shows how the unit days and the numbers of dollars saved are related. The constant difference is 3, and the unit rate is $3 per day. So this rate down here is just showing that a rate table, constant rate, number of days 1, dollars saved 3. So if you had 2 days, 6, 3 days, 9, 4, and 12. And then ratio table, a table showing equivalent ratios. Go ahead and copy that definition down. So in your black notebook, put ratio table, a table showing equivalent ratios. All right, page 24, relate drawings and ratio tables. Discuss relationships you see. How is the ratio table related to a multiplication table? How is the ratio table related to 2 rate tables? How are the constant increases shown in the drawing and in the ratio table? So if you look at this drawing right here, oops, there it is, you can see the different ways to represent basically the same information. Okay, here you have 8, 12. If you look here, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. And here you have, down here, 1 times 2, 2, 3 times 1, 3. Or if you look here, same thing, 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 3 is 6. So you have one with showing it with multiplication, the other showing it with addition. All right, so homework. You will be completing the tables here and then answering how are they alike, how are they different. Okay, so remember here, and then you have 4, 9, 4, 9, same information. Noreen and Tim plant carrots in their garden. They each plant rows at the same time, but Noreen plants 4 carrots seeds in each row and Tim plants 9. So you would complete here, here, and then compare their likes and differences. That's the homework piece. The remembering, looks like you have some more factor puzzles and then missing values in the rate table. Here you would look for the 1 to 7, 1 to 4, 6 to 54. So if you know it's 1 to 4, then 2 times 4 and so forth. If it's 1 to 7, then 2 times 7. But here it's 6 to 54, so you'd have to take 54 divided by 6, which you would end up with 9. So your unit rate would be 1 pound for $9. And then you have represent the situation with the equation, use parentheses if needed. So very similar to what we've done already several times. All right, that concludes lessons 7 and 8. In class tomorrow, you will work on the worksheets for 7 and 8.